This podcast is hosted by Sheza Barbour, co-founder of Good Tree Institute, and joined by licensed therapist Archie Aquino and our resident scholar and founder, Dr. Nadia Qatranji.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Timeless Conversations with Good Tree Institute. We are coming to the end of Surah Al-Yusuf, and in this episode, we're going to be kind of wrapping up the whole surah with the remaining ayahs that we have in this episode and inshallah the next episode. So let's jump right back in and see how Allah actually starts closing out the surah. Dr. Nadia, do you want to jump us back in?
Yes. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So basically now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to comment on what are the main takeaways, right? There are two major aspects that he wants us to focus on. The first one when he is talking to Allah, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, ذَلِكَ مِنْ أَنْبَاءِ الْغَيْبِ. That is from the news of the unseen. نُوحِيهِ إِلَيْكَ. We reveal it to you. وَمَا كُنْتَ لَدَيْهِمْ إِذْ أَجْمَعُوا أَمْرَهُمْ وَهُمْ يَمْكُرُونَ. And you weren't with them when they put together their matter and their plan as they were plotting. أجمعوا is from gathering, and then they gathered their matter, their amr, and then makara is the plotting, as they were plotting that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is referring to the brothers in the beginning of the story when they were actually just planning to deal with Yusuf or get rid of him, or basically revert the attention of their father to themselves. And he's saying this because he wants us to always remember the fact that there are a lot of the things that are in the Quran are things that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not have access to. He's saying, like, you didn't know how to do this. You didn't know how to get to this. And that's why this is a sign that you are a prophet. And that's why this is a sign that the Quran is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I know that a lot of people, still when they hear this, they might have some thoughts about it, and they might have some things. For instance, they would say that, he learned from this person who was a blacksmith in Mecca. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would say, you're talking about somebody who doesn't even know how to speak Arabic. And this is a very clear Arabic Quran. There's no way that he could have gone that. And what's so unique about the Prophet ﷺ is that each and every encounter that he had with people was, who are outside of his own little community, was recorded. So it was not possible for him to learn from the people of the book from the back. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is bringing this as a testimony or as a sign that this book is not from him, it's from Allah. And that's why he says in the next ayah, وَمَا أَكْثَرُ النَّاسِ وَلَوْ حَرَصْتَ بِمُؤْمِنِينَ. And the majority of people, even if you desire, are not going to be believing. وَمَا أَكْثَرُ النَّاسِ وَلَوْ حَرَصْتَ بِمُؤْمِنِينَ. Despite the fact that it's clear, despite the fact that logically it makes sense, despite the fact that we have proofs, the majority of people are not going to be believing. So I want us to stop here for a second and just, we mentioned two major aspects, and I just wanted to see your guys' comments, like what questions you have or things like that to get deeper into it, inshallah.
Yeah, for me, I think one of, when I hear that last ayah, like the majority of people won't believe, and I imagine, it being told to the Prophet Muhammad, and to all of us, but listening to that, it's almost, it kind of reminds me of almost like a sense of relief, because it reminds me of like, okay, your job is just to deliver the message. Mm-hmm. That how it's received or who's going to receive it and everything that lands on the other side, it's not your responsibility. And mm-hmm. So there's almost also a sense of relief, like I just need to do my job. Mm-hmm. I need to be able to deliver the message or be upright, practice and be the best person I can be and really practice the tenets of our deen and, Islam. And the rest is up to Allah's hands. That's immediately what I get. What is sort of that sense of like, leave that to God and then do what you need to do. At least for me, and just instantly. I don't know about you, Archie.
Yeah, for me, it's always like Allah is always trying to give us or tell the Prophet, peace be upon him, that I know how human beings are.
Mm-hmm.
This is how they're going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So here's a reality check. Just make sure your expectations are not going to be like crazy. These guys don't believe anything. you know,
Well,
I've been trying to tell them for years.
well, well, I think to your point. I mean, I love that what you're bringing in terms of the reality of humanity as human beings, as if Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is pointing to 2 points. First, the aspect of choice. Because if every single person was like that, then that's their choice is not there. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala actually says, like, if I wanted to be 100% for everyone, I could have just not had them and had Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in another ayah, their necks submit. They can submit. I can have them
Hmm.
do that. But that's not the point. The point is to have a choice and that it is going to take something. And again, that's the nature of human beings, is that they're not going to have that right away. It's not readily like you see it right away, you take it. And a lot of people might have problems with it. And they might ask, well, I mean, if it's something so crucial and so serious and he's going to be holding me accountable for it, then why isn't it so readily available? Why isn't it?
Yeah, why didn't he make us submit?
Why didn't he make us this way?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it easier? Why do you think? Let's just
Yeah,
address it. A lot. I've heard it. It's just like, I can't believe it's something so serious, so important, and there you go. It's so hard to see.
well, I mean, that's why we're different. That's why we're not angels.
Mm.
Like if we accepted everything Allah said, we would just be angels, and He's already done this. There was a reason why He made humans different than angels, I think, and this is one of our main features: is we question and we're skeptical and we're doubtful,
And he invites you
and
skepticism, by the way, skepticism. He invites your all of these questions.
True.
yeah,
But we're also very clingy, and we
Yeah.
cling to things that are comfortable.
yeah.
And
We don't like change.
yes, and so I feel
Change
like
is bad.
that's what, I feel like there's a lot of reasons why people don't believe. It's they don't want to let
Yeah.
go. Or they don't want to let
Yeah.
go of the clinginess that they have to their possessions, their things, their sense of their worldview, their bubble of like comfort that doesn't, like I'm comfortable. I don't want anything to change. I mean, you see it now and you see it during any times of turmoil in the world. There's lots of
Yeah.
people that turn a blind eye and they're just like, don't disrupt my comfort, my job,
Totally.
my security, my house, my stuff, even just my perspective on
Yeah, I
life.
got a good thing going.
Yeah, you're ruining it.
Yeah.
Don't make me think too much.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. Totally. I mean, and the aspect again. I mean, again, why is it though that if it's so essential that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to get out of that comfort to get it? Like, when it comes to certain things that are based on our survival, like we need, for us to live, we need them. He didn't give us a choice with them. It's just like he took care of them. Your need for food
Mhm.
and your need for sleep. That's not something that you kind of think, oh, should I just be somebody who eats or not? Like, you can't do that. You can't choose that. You can't choose the need for sleep. These are things that they are just like imposed on us for us to live. However, when it comes to what we call like usually the kind of higher needs, which is this kind of need, the need for that fulfillment, the need for the growth, these kinds of things you gotta pursue them. Because when something's so precious and so important and so valuable, you want to go and discover it. Because the more when you discover it, you own it, and it becomes more precious for you and more rewarding for you. I mean, think about it. Everything in life that we get, you just have people who just like, okay, I made myself. I did all that work to build up my career or to study. That's very important. And we see it, right? People who are given the wealth, they don't appreciate it as much versus the ones who actually strove to get that. And this is the same nature. When something so beautiful, the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the connection and the trust of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most rewarding thing. If you get it,
Yeah.
you won't appreciate it.
The most rewarding things in life generally are things you have to put effort into. You just can't. If you can get it without any effort, like you said, it's not even valuable. And this is the most valuable thing ever. So it makes sense that you need to put some effort into this.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And again, to the point that you mentioned also regarding how people would like to just stay comfortable and just like, okay, I'm just happy how I am. I really don't care. I really don't care to change things. Just don't talk to me about these big things. Life is easier this way. What's the problem with living like this? What's the problem? I just want to get to it from a different angle because, there is I remember Dr. Jeffrey Lang one time when he was in his pursuit of the truth, he was like, okay, why am I making it so hard on myself and trying to figure out who God is and all of that stuff about the reality of life and the truth? Just live life like everybody else. Just go, enjoy life. Party and wine and dine and all of that, and he tried that for a while. So what's the problem with having to just like, okay, all what I care about is get my basic needs and just leave me alone?
I think there's an element of something that's missing that you're just never going to be able to fulfill. And I think you see that even with people that want to maintain their bubble, is there's still an element of missing that they can't answer. They can't figure out, no matter what you try to fill it up with or activities. It's like usually for us, it's like, well, I'll just get busy doing this, that, or the other, and just to kind of deflect and not address your needs as a soulful human being. Like we are not just matter, right? There's a soul
Yep.
inside of us. And when we don't address that, it's going to come back. And then you see these issues of depression and questioning. Like people are out there, they're searching and they're suffering for something that's just missing
Yeah.
inside of them. And they don't know what that is until they look for it.
It's kind of interesting you bring that up because I've always wondered about like, all right, when people have everything they could ever want, like the people who have so much money you can't even count it, right? What do they do to make themselves happy if it's just so easy to have everything that they thought that they wanted? And what's left after that? And then you see what happens is they either get into something that is like
Destructive.
good for them and other people, or they get into things that are really bad for them and other people.
Yeah.
And I think that's an important thing to know, that if you're only looking to satisfy yourself with your hedonistic kind of pleasures or your basic needs, it's easy to get lost and easy to get tangled up in the dunya stuff, and the akhirah becomes like, you don't care, all right, but you have that sense of emptiness, and then you're filling it with all sorts of things that kind of, I don't know, it makes you less connected.
And on top of that, you don't have peace. It's impossible to be at peace with this lifestyle and with this way of being. You can even bring excitement to your life, but it's dead excitement. It's not alive, and it doesn't have that tranquility inside, and that's the peace that you won't get it until you do that actual connection and that discovery and that finding. This is where you're in reconciliation with yourself, and that's why it's so essential. And the important aspect is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us ways to access that, and He has put that on us. And He said, if you go back to the ayah, the next ayah, right, which is like, why is it that that people are not like that? What's the reason that that people are not believing? The majority of people are not believing. He says, after he mentions the aspect of the Prophet, peace be upon him, is that you're not going to get any payback from them. It's not that you're asking them for something and burdening them. وَمَا تَسْأَلُهُمْ عَلَيْهِ مِنْ أَجْرٍ. You're not burdening them with any request. إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا ذِكْرٌ الْعَالَمِينَ. This is just a reminder. And then he says, this is the ayah that I wanted to point out, is that the way, the access for us is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put for us so many ways to get to see Him, to get to access the truth, to get to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And He says, وَكَأَيٍّ مِّنْ آيَةٍ, and how many of a sign, فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ, in the heavens and the earth, يَمُرُّونَ عَلَيْهَا, They pass by it. They pass, actually not by it, عليها, over it. It's just like you gloss over it. وهم عنها معرضون. And they are turning away from it. You're seeing it. It's right. It's coming at you. Whether generic signs in the heavens and the earth, or sometimes specific signs, and we just don't look at them and we don't see them. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, that's where the reason is. That's why you don't really pay attention to the aspect of Iman. You don't really become a truly believer, because you're just bypassing the signs. And this becomes important, specifically important, when things, like when you're kind of like really open and looking. If you're just like, no, I'm fine, everything's fine, you're not going to see the sign. But the moment you start seeing, just like, yeah, that's fine, I'm getting this, but really I could feel the emptiness.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the human nature part is, even in research, there's a confirmation bias that we warn against, because the human nature is to see what you want to see. You know, you want to see your life comfortable, you're going to see only things that make your life comfortable. And to see anything other than that, you have to have like a commitment to be more objective.
Yeah. So basically what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us is that the signs are there.
And it's up to you.
It's just there. Exactly. Now it's you. And how many of us, like, do you notice how sometimes you're just like, how did I not see this?
Yeah.
How did I not see this? I've looked at this so many times and I never saw that in it. And that's the discovery element.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I mean, I read the Quran. It's just like, okay, I didn't see anything. Oh, I'm looking at the sunrise. I'm just like, it's fine. How did I? And then there's a moment when you are open. Any moment you're open, you're vulnerable. You're just listening, and you listen. It's just a different listening. And then it hits you. The sign actually hits you. That's why our job, your access, is to open ourselves for these signs, to make ourselves available, to just not say everything's done, everything's fine, I'm just like scared of change or scared of what if something goes. No, just let yourself engage in life.
And there's an element, as I'm listening to you, it's like you have to be open on two different fronts. You have to be open from your heart, especially, like your heart has to be open, and you have to be light and willing to accept things, and your brain and your mind has to be open too. So to like, both have to be, it's like both are working here, because those are the things that, like, a lot of times it's your brain that's blocking, right? It's like you're overthinking. You're like, no. But your heart is the one that's wanting it. But it's to be able to have both elements of your body be open to what you see, and open to discovery, and open to everything that Allah's kind of showing to you. And then you'll have that, I think, that peace and that contentment too.
Yeah. And it's an active, right? This is an active at work. It's not passive. Like, for instance, let's look Surah Yusuf, right? Well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is putting this at the end of Surah Yusuf, because Surah Yusuf, you've seen, we went through it, so profound. You can, and we've done that so many times, you could just like, just read it. Yeah, the story. Oh my God, how did the brothers do that? How awful they are. Oh my God, look at the wife of Aziz. Oh my God, she's like, look how they talk.
The drama.
And you could just like, you could just like look at it as something that's happening over there, and just watching it. You're just an observer. You're very passive. That's how we live life. Whereas what Allah is saying here at the end of the ayah, go back to the surah and for God's sake, read it well for yourself. Like, open yourself up and just read it. What's in it for me? What's in the brother's story for me? When you're just like, oh, I'm not awful. No, we're not. That's not the point. We're human beings, and Allah is telling us, He is giving us access to our humanity. See yourself in the brothers. See yourself in the Yusuf. See yourself in the wife of the Aziz. See yourself in her husband. See yourself in these aspects, and be brave and bold to look at the truth and the reality. There are tons of signs. That's why these eyes are called signs, because it's for us. If I don't take it, nothing's going to change. I'll be fine. Yeah, I read the Quran. Get ajr. Great. Yes, you will get ajr, inshallah. but you got just a very, very small fraction of what's in this Quran. Whereas if I am just like willing and, oh, where am I like them? Oh my God, where do I do this? Put myself in the light, put myself out there. That's how I can actually start connecting and reigniting that fire of Iman. And that's why, by the way, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right after it, in the next ayah, he's just like, hey guys, I mean, as if like, sometimes we think, it's just like, I'm a believer. These ayahs are not for me. I don't have to worry about it. Here's the next ayah that hits you right away. Just look what he says. Right away, it hits. وَمَا يُؤْمِنُ. Look what he says. He says, وَمَا يُؤْمِنُ. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وَمَا يُؤْمِنُ أَكْثَرُهُم بِاللَّهِ. And the majority of them do not believe in God, إِلَّا وَهُمْ مُشْرِكُونَ, except that they are associating partners with him. Except that they do have partners with him. Now, you have to understand that partners doesn't have to be always, as we all know, I mean, we've talked about this a lot of times, it doesn't have to be idols or like I worship somebody with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This, for us, this is more something that's very hidden. That I just give power in my life, cause in my life to things other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's what we do all the time. And if we go back to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying to us in the ayahs, there is a link over here. Why is he putting it right after the ayah? What's the link? Why is he saying, after he's talking about you guys don't pay attention to ayahs? Is he only talking to ones who don't believe in God? Or is it, how is this connected?
Yeah, it's almost. Go ahead,
It
Archie.
sounds like he's making a clarification. He's clarifying that like, you can believe in me, but you think that things like maybe money or something else, the things that you are getting through your belief in me are the things that give you the satisfaction or the safety or the sense of comfort. And we forget that it's all stemming from Allah still,
Yeah.
and that's, I think, a easy mistake to make.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it brings up like what is it that we hold on to that are really like what he's describing as shirk, that we cling on to, that we think is our sense of power. For some of us, it's our independence. It's our sense of like, I can do this on my own. Just, I'll figure this out. I've always figured things out in the past. Or our intellect, like, oh, I'm smart. I can figure this out too. And like, it's gotten me out of many situations in the past. And you're not thinking that the ultimate source of power is really Allah. And that's where it's scary, because he's saying all that many of you believe, but you still have the shirk, and this is the shirk. It's these things that we don't even think about, but we cling on to, that we feel like it's giving us power.
Yeah, no one explained shirk as that to me as a newcomer. No one said that shirk. Everyone just said shirk is the idols. The idols and witchcraft and sorcery and superstition.
Yeah.
That's all shirk. But what you're saying is kind of mind-blowing, right? Like, my trust in myself or my dependence on my intellect is shirk.
Yeah, and that's what the Prophet says, actually. He says, Shaitan is not going to go after these big idol things anymore. He knows that you're not going to take this. He says, but what I'm afraid of is actually the shirk al-khafi, the hidden shirk. Those kinds of aspects that he's and in a moment when you look at it at first glance, I mean, Allah is telling us a reality, right? He's saying, the majority of you are not going to believe unless if you have, except that you are associating, others with Allah. It's scary, as you said. But you also want to look at it from another perspective. Not only the fact, it's a fact and it's scary. Like, what do you mean? You're saying that we're not good? Like, are you telling me I'm bad no matter what I do? Or is it kind of like, if you look at it though, what do you guys think?
I see it both ways.
No, I don't think we're. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I see it on the one hand. It's like the initial for me reaction is a slap in the head. Like, I'm like, oh my God, it's so heavy. Like, wow. But then I'm like, okay, well, Allah's saying, listen, you have this problem. You have this issue that's part of
Exactly.
being human. So what are you going to do about it? Again, it's kind of like, okay, so what are the actions you're going to
Beautiful.
take to kind of refresh, reset, and just like deal with it, and clean it?
That's awesome. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
Go ahead, Archie.
It's another warning to me because we our egos, right? Our egos get so in the way of everything, and we become so stuck on ourselves and believing in ourselves and worshiping
Mm-hmm.
ourselves. And he's trying to give us a heads up, like, it's easy to fall into that trap.
Exactly, exactly. Just a reality check. Hey, this is the default way. Unless if you actively, again, just like bringing the aspect of you actively need to constantly refresh your iman. You have to actually, and this is by the way, it's in our faith, it's in the aqidah where they tell you iman is not a stagnant thing. It's something that increases or decreases. It's something that it's a state. And what we mean by state, it's not like you get to that state and that's it, you're cruising. No, it's like you increase and decrease. And if you don't actively work on it, that's what's going to happen. So this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as you said, like after we kind of like get that reality and it's not so easy to take, you understand that you can't turn a blind eye on your iman. You can't just say, okay, iman, I'm a Muslim. That's it. I don't have to worry about this part. Alhamdulillah. This is for people who are not believing. No, you can't do that. You just have to actually put it in your forefront because this is what you count on for your fulfillment, for your peace, for your ability to really live life with quality, to live life connected to your source, connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In reality, like that's the real thing. And this is where, now we were saying that it connects to the ayahs before, which is the ayah about the sign. So if you are a believer, you need the signs to keep you awake. So the sunrise and the sunset is not only for somebody to observe and to say, oh, actually, there's a creator. It's for us to renew our iman. Every time you look at the sky, every time you look at the sunrise, you just like internalize it. Let your soul wake up to this beauty and just engage with it and reconnect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with each sign that you see. That's what keeps us alive. That's what gives us energy. And that's what has there's a huge difference between just living bodies and living human beings versus living souls. It's just different.
Here's a question. This is just occurring to me, never happened in our prep session, but it's kind of like there's two messages and they seem to be in opposition about like you're not the sole power for things. And some people might take that as, so we're not power. I mean, we're kind of powerless in a sense because we're not going to make ourselves the most powerful reason for why we have our lives the way we have them. But at the same time, he's saying be active, be active in your faith. So how do we resolve this? You're kind of powerless, but you're also empowered at the same time.
Well, we didn't say we're powerless. You're right. We're attributing. We're saying we attribute power to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because what you do is if you don't attribute power to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you attribute it to the things that are occurring or kind of like ostensibly seeing that this is where the power is coming from. It could be my money. It could be my intellect. It could be all of these things, which are tools, which they can go away. Like they can, at any moment, they can go away, and they are just provided by the ultimate source, who is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that is distinct from being able to make choices and to actively choose things and to actively have the power to do that. That is inside the realm of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. And this is something that's unique to us human beings. As you mentioned in the beginning, like angels don't have that. We do have the power to choose, and we do have the responsibility to take certain actions. That's in our realm. Now, the how things go overall is in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's hand. Yes, that is true. And that actually relieves us. That's a huge relief. Like, can you imagine how amazing it is just like to know that it's all in his hand? It's all, I can actually, I can lean on him. I'll do my part that I'm active in, and then he will do the actual real thing. Does that resolve it?
Yeah. Then that's a huge coping strategy for me since I've, converted to Islam, is you get to that point where you're just so frustrated, you've done everything you can and it's still not working out, and then you just be like, well, that's how it's supposed to be for now,
Yeah.
and then you just let it go.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So it's not, it's kind of like these two aspects, or these two realities, if you will, to say, work actually hand in hand. Us human beings, we have a certain capacity, we have a certain choice over our lives, we have a certain way that we are fully responsible. It's our job, just like imagine it in any organization or any work, like your part is this part. You cannot be responsible for the well-being of the whole globe. It's impossible. We don't have that capacity. By the same token, you don't even, if you think about it for your own life, like just me solely, I have to be responsible for every single thing. It's overwhelming, and that's why people feel burdened. But when you know that you can lean on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's all planned, it's all His way, it gives you a sense of, okay, I get it. He's asking you to be a full 100% active, creative, powerful in every aspect. But keep remembering that He's got you. He has the bigger plan for you. You're operating inside His plan. Yeah, and that's the reality. The last ayah that is in here, which we just want to make sure that we close in, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, like, what are they waiting for? Are they waiting for the truth of the matter is that there is an end to life, where He says, Afa aminu, like when you don't, He's kind of like putting an alert. He's alarming us. Are you safe? Are you feeling safe that an overwhelm that comes from as a punishment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes? What would you do when that hits? أفأمنوا أن تأتيهم غاشية من عذاب الله أو تأتيهم الساعة بغتة, or the hour comes, life ends and the hour comes suddenly, وهم لا يشعرون, and you're not perceiving it. This is a reality. This is a true thing that we have to reconcile with. And we just have to we have to understand that we live within the realm of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I know there's a lot more here. We're just opening a big topic that inshallah we'll keep addressing as we go through the Quran, bi'iznillah ta'ala.
Yeah, but I feel like that last ayah is it's like wake up call. It's kind of saying like, what are you waiting for?
Mm-hmm.
You're also missing out on so much in this life when you're not seeing the signs and you're not opening up your heart and your mind to what Allah can provide for you. And, you could be living in misery really through this whole time of existence, and you don't have to be. When you have when you're just open to everything.
So true. Remember, connect.
I've had so many clients tell me, like, what's the point of life? Right? Because they're not doing this active sort of exploration of themselves and life and looking for the signs, and they find their life to be pointless, and then that's when they get depressed.
True. When you connect to reality, like really, our job is to just be connected with truth and reality. And some people might think about it as, oh no, of course I know what's reality. Well, these are, I invite you to look, it's your perception of reality, not reality. You have certain anticipations of how reality is going to turn based on your thoughts and your speculations. You're not connected to reality. There is a huge difference between what's real and what's true versus what I'm assuming and what I'm thinking. And that's where we get lost. And that's where a lot of the, as you said, the overwhelm and the depression that comes from.
Yeah.
All right.
There's just a lot to unpack in just these couple of ayahs of how Allah's like kind of closing out this whole story of Surah Yusuf. It's really profound because, like you said earlier, you can go through the surah and just see it through the drama. right? And all these little mini stories within the story, right? And you're just like, okay, that happened, and not internalize it and not see the signs.
Yeah, and you're just loving the hero, loving the Yusuf. I said, oh, he's so amazing, and that's it. That's all
and
you
you're
get.
not internalizing it. You're not thinking about it. And Allah is at the end, so like kind of giving you a wake-up call, like wake up and reread the surah now and internalize it and look at it for yourself and ask all these questions. Really ask yourself all these questions. So, I mean, it's a really profound way of kind of closing out the surah. And I mean, I liked what you said earlier, Dr. Nadia, because a lot of like how you were framing it, because I think for a lot of us, when we read through different parts of the Quran, right, in different surahs, it sometimes it feels disjointed. Like you go from stories to like then questions, and you're like, well, where did this come from? Not understanding that Allah's making a point, like that the way these ayahs are structured, even in like in here at the end, it's like, okay, we're done with the stories, we're done with the drama. Now we have some really serious questions and some serious things, and there's a reason to that. It's not disjointed. And there's a purpose to all of this, right? The way every ayah is put in and how Allah is framing the surahs in the Quran. So I think we wanted to leave, the audience with just 2 questions as we start closing out the surah. For this episode the first question is, how do you constantly refine your faith and deen? And that in terms of like when our discussions of like, how do you constantly revive it and refine it and bring it back, bring your Iman back to life? As we said, your Iman can go up and down. So what do you constantly do to keep that alive? And then the second question, which is kind of a deeper question, is what's your most prominent hidden shirk for you? And remember, when we talked about shirk, it's about the associations that you make. And it's not as obvious anymore as like, oh, having idols or you believe in multiple gods and whatnot. It's the shirk of like, what do you associate your power to? Is it your intellect? Is it your wealth? Is it your sense of independence? Or what is it exactly? So take some time and think about that. And it's uncomfortable. It's really uncomfortable to really think about this because a lot of us go through life thinking like, I don't know, I believe in God. Khalas, like I believe in God, I believe in the Prophet. I don't have any associations. But really analyze yourself and say, well, where do I put my trust and my power in on a daily basis? So these are some pretty deep questions that, as we come to the conclusions of Surah Yusuf. And we're not quite done yet. Next, we still have one more episode to really close out the surah. So we hope that you join us again next week on another episode of Timeless Conversations. Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
If you like listening to our conversation about the Quran, imagine how much more you would get out of participating in a live conversation about the Quran with Dr. Nadia and a room full of people engaging with the Quran. Join us at our next in-person Seeds of Wisdom retreat, online with our weekly Quran and Me sessions, or for the youth at one of our Camp Z retreats.